grace. You need the grace. Grace is what will see you through some things which others have no way of going through. There are some. If God has not given some of you grace to deal with your husband at this moment, you will quit. You will give up on the relationship. Some women are ready. They are very ready to give up on their marriage because they can't take the nonsense of their spouse anymore. They have run out of grace. When grace is given to somebody, even the worst case scenario, what you would have not been able to tolerate, what you would not be able to handle, you will not tolerate such nonsense 1 minute. But when God gives you grace will make you, in spite of the mess the person is in, you keep on loving the person because grace has been given to you. And that is what will keep the marriage because it's grace. It's grace. It's not your ability. You couldn't handle this. You couldn't tolerate this. You can't tolerate him coming late, not staying in the house, not all these things he's doing. I wouldn't have tolerated. In fact, I would have quit long time. But grace will make you see the person, and instead of being angry, and instead of getting into verbal and confrontation, and where did you go and fighting and grace, when it shows up, you are just, honey, how may I help you? Do you need food? You are loving the person. And the person is even shocked because they expect you to be fighting them, asking them questions. Where have you been? Why didn't you call? Why didn't you answer? Grace. Some of you, we need grace. Some of you are going through some hostility, hostile environment in your workplace. You feel like quitting. You don't have to quit. What you need is, Lord, I need grace. I need grace. Because if God gives you grace, those who are fighting against you now, all of them, they will leave that job. The Lord will kick them out. And if you don't have grace, immediately they start fighting you, you will quit. Grace. If grace is not given to you, when the enemies are coming against you, satanic attack, demonic attack, witchcraft attack, some people cannot take the pressure anymore. I've seen people who were under strong demonic witchcraft attack. They wanted to stop it and they committed suicide. Grace. If grace is there, you hold on, you pray, you believe until you are delivered. When grace is given to you, wrong relationships which you've been struggling to come out, because you know very well that this relationship is not of God. However, there's a soul tie between you and this person, and they keep on dragging you back into the sin, and you want out. But what you need is God, give you the grace to say no and break this relationship and to be able to obey you. Grace. You need grace. Grace is what makes you a survivor of something which will kill people. Grace is what allowed Daniel to survive the lions. Grace is what allowed Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego to be able to stand the fire and to come out because God was with them. Grace is what made David say that though I go through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Grace is what sustains you. Grace. Some of you need serious grace because the way things are going and bills are not paid, you are not working, problems here, problems there. Lord, I need your grace. I need your grace. Otherwise, your mind will spin out of control. You'll be thinking, depressed, worried, stressed every time. But grace will sustain you. Grace will see you through. Grace will help you until the situation is turned around. There's a timing of a turnaround. But when you don't have grace, you quit before your deliverance comes. And many people, God was bringing deliverance to them. They did not have the grace, did not hold on to grace. Tonight I pray that whatever is confronting you, whatever is keeping you discouraged, whatever is making you feel like quitting, whatever is keeping you so much at the despair, you just can't take it anymore. You are just about to give up. You are just about to drop it and say no more. I think that's it. This is not for me. Grace will hold you up when you yourself are sinking. Grace will keep you floating. Grace will make you walk on the waters. Grace is what you need. And tonight I want you to specially pray, Father, I need grace. I need grace in this marriage. I need grace to deal with my children. The devil can use your own children against you. Young as they are, they can be stressing you. They can become a thorn in your flesh if you don't take care. A woman called me one time and said, I'm giving my own child for adoption because it's like He's tormenting me. He's tormenting me. What they needed is grace. Grace will give you strength and grace to deal with the situation and not give up. You may be dealing with some problems in your life. You need grace. Grace is what you will see you through when the doctors have said you have cancer and you're going to die in 6 months, and every day reports are evil. Why do people quickly? My wife was telling me how people are doing well. They are doing very well. She had an uncle who was doing very well. The day you were diagnosed, and they told you have cancer, and because they took in that word and became afraid, within few weeks they began to deteriorate. The cancer began to jump on them and eat up their flesh and consume them, because when they didn't know they were living by faith, immediately they got to hear cancer. Fear got in, and the demon began to eat up their flesh. So grace is what will keep you looking up to God every day, and the power of God will sustain you and defeat that sickness, defeat that demonic oppression, defeat that challenge you are facing. Grace, 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 grace. You need another grace. Some of you have come this far by grace, leaning on the Lord. Why have you turned your eyes away from grace, and now you are looking up to people, looking up to shortcuts? Some people, out of frustration, they are now consulting all sort of mediums and psychic and witch doctors and all sort of for help. Calling everywhere. If you have grace, grace will make you go on your knees and pray and fast and trust God until you get your breakthrough. There's somebody, you are almost at the verge of quitting because your situation is unbearable. And tonight, what you need, cry for grace. Lord, I need grace. I need your grace. If you don't give me grace, Lord, I don't know what to do about this situation. I don't know how I'm going to survive. I don't know how I'm going to be able to face the next day. Somebody is contemplating on suicide. You have come to the place of even contemplating because you feel your life is really worthless. You feel your life is meaningless because you've tried everything, nothing is working. You are very close to your breakthrough, and the devil wants to convince you that this is how things will stay. This is how things will be. You have that nothing good will ever happen to you. The devil, knowing very well that your breakthrough is a few minutes and seconds and weeks ahead of you, he wants you to give up, to quit, and even terminate your life. Pray for grace tonight. May the grace of God reach you wherever you are, and may the Lord restore you, revive you, help you out. Even in Jesus' name, cry out for grace. Cry out, Lord, I need your grace. That's why Paul could say, His grace is sufficient for me. God's grace is sufficient for me. When I'm weak, then I'm strong because His grace is sufficient. If God's grace is not sufficient for you, my brother, my sister, you give up. Grace is what is able to even keep us from sin. The devil can trap you in a place of sin, and humanly speaking, you would have fallen into the pit and committed that sin. But grace will say, no, son, you can't do it. Daughter, you can't do it. Because of destiny. You walk out. You walk out of a big deal, a big contract, which is dubious, which is evil. Why? Because grace will tell you, this is not meant for you. This relationship is not meant for you. Everything looks good. It's not meant for you. There's even some positions which are very attractive, which will call you, come for this position. You will get raised, you get more money, but you know very well that this place is going to keep you away from serving God in truth and in spirit. Grace will tell you, hey, give it up, give it up. If grace is not there, you and I are not much for the devil. Tonight I pray, I ask that the Lord will reach out to you and give you grace. But you have to cry out for God's grace. Paul himself needed grace to survive. How much more you and I? And some of us, the plans of the enemy is to weaken us and to break us and to scatter us and to devour us, to swallow up. That's what Psalms 124 says, that they would have swallowed us up. Grace is what keeps your enemies from swallowing you up, and to prevent them. Tonight, if there's any prayer you must pray, if you want to see the end of this year victoriously, if you want to be able to see 2015 victoriously, cry for grace. Cry for grace in every area of your life. Cry out to God. Be desperate and say, Lord, let your grace be sufficient. Do you know why some people are not dead? In spite of what the devil is doing against them. God's grace. Do you know why some people have made some major mistakes which could have destroyed them? But yesterday they survived it because of grace. If you don't have grace, you will commit the same mistake they did, and that's it. Your enemies will finish with you. That's it. You would have died. That's it. Evil would have failed you. If you lack grace, everything can happen to you at any time. You become a prey to your enemies. But when grace is there for you, even when you make mistakes, grace covers you. Tonight, if there's any prayer you'll be needing to before this year comes to an end, especially this time zone, this season, the grace of God. Cry out to God for grace.
For more prayers, join us every Tuesday, 10 p.m. Eastern Time, Friday, 11 p.m. Eastern Time. The number to call is 559-726-1200. 559-726-1200. And the extension number is 950014 pound. 950014 pound. For more information, go to our website www.freshfireprayer.com. freshfireprayer.com. God bless you.